Hello and welcome to The Studio Demands It, an exercise in creative thinking where we will conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film or series based on the demands or stipulations from one of you listeners acting as a hypothetical Hollywood overlord.
Hypothetical!
Hollywood overlord. As professional screenwriters ourselves and massive cinephiles, we talk movies all the time.
All the time.
And we'd like to believe we can meet any demand thrown at us. We will be your screenwriters for this episode. I am TC Witt, and joining me across the room, as always, is Jim Last Girl Burzelic. Yeah.
Yep.
You're the last girl. Are you a survivor?
No. Oh, God, no.
Are you the Randy?
I mean, I am because that's my middle name.
Oh, yes, it's true. But is it apt? Is it an appropriate last name?
No, I'm a Randy.
You're a Randy.
Sorry, that kind of gives away.
Well, I mean, people know what they're listening to.
No, they have no idea. People click blindly on all of the internet.
I appreciate the random listen. You're a Randy?
Yeah, I think so.
I suppose this will go. We're doing Scream today, folks.
Yes.
There's no beating around the bush about it. We literally walked out of Scream 6. I threw it up on the Twitter feed if we should do a Scream 7 episode. 220 of one of you said yes. So
all right.
Thank you for the engagement. So we're going to do Scream 7 is what's going to happen here. But that before we get into that, speaking of Randy, speaking of the tropes of the slasher horror genre. By the way, if you'd like to listen to us talk, we did a commentary track for the original Scream 1996, which is available on our Patreon, and we have meandering conversations about the genre in general.
That commentary made me realize I have not watched enough slashers. I've watched a number of them, but as we discussed, I've watched more of the monster slashers.
Okay.
If you were to differentiate, I've not watched enough of like
the evil next door kind of stuff.
That's what I've watched, right?
Okay.
Or like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers.
I'm thinking
those
more
are all
of
the
like
ones I've watched.
The Strangers, Last House on the Left.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not watched. I mean, granted, those I've seen, but there's many others in the genre that I've not.
Sure. The being followed by someone trying to kill you genre has subgenres to it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the meta nature of Scream? Kind of created that, and I feel like a lot of horror movies have more not a lot, but there's enough that it's more of like, hey, the zombies don't say the Z word, like in Shaun of the Dead.
Sure.
Or Cabin in the Woods is very much lampshading all of the tropes of the Cabin in the Woods slasher.
I think, as you've noted before, Scream is satire. It's satirical of the slasher genre, which doesn't mean necessarily funny. Doesn't mean parodical. Would that be the word?
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's a parody. It means it's I forget the definition of satire.
It's commentary. It often plays with caricatures. It plays with it comments on the tropes. It uses the tropes very explicitly, and satire is often comedy. There's no doubt about that. But it doesn't have to be comedy. There can be commentary about the thing you're discussing, and not like spoof movies like Scary Movie or whatnot. But there is a deconstruction in the original Scream. The genre was dead. The slasher genre in all of its forms. Jason was in New York, like Leprechaun in the Hood, which I'm repeating myself from our commentary. But the Scream revitalized a very ripe market. Get teens in a theater, scare them with the possibility of jump scares and death, and sexy teens running from a thing. It's a genre that has existed for decades and decades, and it was floundering. Scream came along, pointed out all the tropes.
It said here's all the tropes we're going to play upon and reference, and then they did.
And we sat. I showed you a full recap of the series, and I do feel like the series continues to have a meta nature to it, where the second one very much says, hey, this is a sequel, and let me tell you things about sequels, specifically horror sequels, scary movie sequels. As we've discussed, they don't say slasher and horror necessarily.
I think they do in the second one. They didn't in the first one. They always referred to them as scary movies.
Right. By the third one, they comment on the killer is always the hardest it's going to be to kill in the third one, and they play on the tropes of ending a trilogy. The fourth one comments on reboots. It's literally the ghosts. Oh, by the way, as we go into this, we are going to have to spoil everything. So if we don't normally do a spoiler warning, this is one of the newest things we are going to be commenting on.
Yeah.
So it's worth us saying right up front.
Literally, while we're doing this, that movie is in
the theaters. Yeah. And now, granted, this will come out. We don't know.
That's true.
We record this in advance.
But still.
Just a heads up. We are going to be speaking very openly about the entire Scream franchise minus the TV series because it's not apt to this conversation.
Yeah, we didn't watch that.
The 3 seasons of that show. Anyway, so 4 is about reboots, reassigning the lead roles to a new generation.
Sure.
Scream 5. I did see Scream 5, and it's more about similar to what Scream 6 did. Is legacy.
Did they just keep saying legacy for both movies?
Because everyone involved in, not everyone, but most of the main characters are relatives or related to previous victims and killers.
Yeah.
And then Scream 6 goes one step further, and Scream 6 is, again, your last chance to back out here, okay? All right? Yeah. Okay. All right, I don't want any complaining.
Right, y'all have seen it now.
Scream 6 is just Scream 2.
Yeah.
It's Scream 2 again.
Yeah.
It's college.
It truly is. It makes 5 the true reboot of the where whatever. So I've only seen 1, 2, and 6, whereas you've seen all of them.
I've seen them all.
But seeing 6, like going through the recaps and everything, 6 even felt like 2. So where you say 4 said, "Oh, we're gonna reboot it."
Yeah,
it's 5 that actually did.
Yeah, 5 actually does. Yeah, and I like
which but in 5, because in 6 she said she called it the requel. That's what 5 actually is. It's not a reboot and it's not a sequel. It's the requel.
Yeah, it's the sequel to the reboot.
And then 6 is the sequel to the requel.
And 6 talks about okay, we're in franchise territory now.
Yeah,
and it's Randy's niece,
and
Mindy,
nephew.
who is the what's it?
And nephew.
Yes, the twins. But
the
specifically,
one
Mindy is basically the most meta aware,
the movie
aficionado,
the lore keeper.
Right. And so there's always been a meta nature to it. But Scream aside, how do you feel about that trend maintaining through the horror genre? So
there was a period just before the pandemic, maybe even a couple of years before, where there was a lot of kind of meta movies. There was a movie came out called, there might have even been more than one, called Final Girl or Final Girls.
Dale and Tucker versus Evil, which is 10 years earlier, but it's
but there's been a trend of taking the tropes of horror and playing upon them, being aware of them. I think it's interesting that you point out that Scream was so early, kind of in that meta narrative.
96.
A lot of these satires do tend to be a bit more parody-like. Like before Scream, there were a number of parodies, right? Saturday the 14th.
Sure.
Things like that.
Straight up comedies that were playing in.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then we get into the 2000s after the new zombie era. Shaun of the Dead joins that and is the parody / satire of zombie movies.
The Romero specific zombies.
Yeah. And the thing is, I feel like since then, now in the 2010s and to now, the whole notion of meta has extended to at least other genres.
Oh, sure.
Rick and Morty, not just horror.
Rick and Morty, Community, jump to mind immediately, as in characters who are very self-aware.
Yeah.
It's not like...
Well, actually, the entire Cornetto trilogy is technically meta in that it's satirical of the genres that it's playing in Shaun of the Dead. Hot Fuzz and
World's End.
World's End are all commentary on their genres.
Sure, and I like that.
Sure.
It's more about there's two sides, like extreme sides. There's the very much talking about the like being aware of all the tropes while you're living the tropes, like the black guy saying like, I'm getting out of here, the black guy always dies first, right? That is a sad trope of the genre that has been more or less put to rest after into the 2000s or whatnot. But it's something that comes up versus the other side of it, which is existing in a universe where no one ever mentions like Walking Dead is a world where zombie movies never existed. And that tends to, I would rather have someone be aware of certain pop cultural touchstones versus ignoring them completely. But it's so to bring this back to Scream specifically. Scream is like meta within meta within meta, because in the Scream universe, there's the Stab franchise, which reflects the Scream movies, and there's fans of the actual Woodsboro killings and the Ghostface killings, but also fans of Ghostface, the character in the Stab movies, and it's just this Ouroboros of ideas. And it's
well, and at this point, it's still kind of commentary and satirical of real life movies, but at the same time, it's also kind of one of the leaders in one of the touchstones in what you now go to when talking about this kind of stuff. So it's no longer something outside of talking about it. It's now inside talking. Like
it is.
It's an Ouroboros. It's talking about itself.
Yeah, and but it has gone beyond just horror or scary movie talk, because one of my favorite jokes in 5, so Richie and Amber are the killers in Scream 5. They met on a chat group or an online group that hates, we'll call it Episode 8 of the Stab franchise.
Well,
and
they do call it
they
that.
call it Episode 8. And it's just, I love that joke of like, wow, you're not talking about you're talking about Last Jedi fans or haters, detractors.
Sure.
Remake Last Jedi. Like
it's becoming, rightly, actually I would say it happened, probably happened even earlier than Scream 5. It's commenting on the state of the fan base, of the viewers of films, as well as films and film tropes themselves.
Yeah, that's something I will give 5 and 6 specifically credit for, because 5 came out, it was made before it was released pandemic time, but 22 and 23, so 2022, 2023, they didn't MCU it. They've Scream has always had these connections to like doing an expanded universe of Scream characters that they bring, like bringing in the characters from the 3 seasons of the TV show into this movie.
Gotcha.
I give them credit. They didn't do that.
Okay.
They maintained their lore contained within the 6 films that led, or the 5 films that led up to 6, as opposed to.
But that's what Marvel did.
No, I guess I'm not describing exactly what I think they avoided doing. I think the Scream movies do well standing on their own. This 6th one is the I think you could have seen 1 and 5 and that'd be fine. That you didn't have to see anything else besides that, because they kind of explain it pretty well in the film. I guess I'm just happy we aren't getting spin-off movies of these characters. Like if it was MCU branded franchising, it wouldn't just be a mainline group of stories. We'd have the Sydney movies, and we'd have the Gale movies, and then we'd have the Dewey movies, and then all they would come together for Scream.
Gotcha.
And they didn't do that.
Interestingly, so just talking about that for a moment, because 6 did say they're franchising now, and that is essentially what we're talking about. We're talking about franchises. Marvel, right? We talk about how Marvel's the most successful at that. The only other franchises I can think of that have even attempted to do that, where they splinter off into becoming this tree of movies, is DC has tried and continues to try.
Alien,
Fast and Furious.
Yeah, Fast and Furious
did 1. They branched out with 1. I thought it succeeded. I don't know why they haven't done more. And other than that,
Alien and Predator, I think, is another one where they combined franchises, and then we have the Prometheus timeline and the Aliens movies, and and it's a messy.
I see what you're saying. I think that harkens back to classic Universal Frankenstein versus Dracula and stuff like that.
Hey, maybe pocket that for as we discuss the demand here.
Sure. Okay.
So just a thought there. But in general, I suppose I'm curious. Having rewatched Scream, seen the recap, we watched 6. I like this franchise. We had discussed what's your favorite scary movie, and on the spot, even though I asked you the question, I actually didn't have an answer for myself.
Sure.
I love Trick or Treat. The movie Trick or Treat's one of my favorite Halloween watches every year. But I think Scream might be my favorite franchise. And I wrote a freaking Friday the 13th movie. Yeah. I think Scream's the one I have the most connection to. I've seen every one of them in theaters. I have followed the franchise since '96, and I continue to enjoy it.
So you're saying you're a Billy?
I'm a Billy.
Yep.
I'm a Billy Loomis. Oh no! Let's hope not.
No,
you better hope not. Should I give you that really intense "I'm obviously guilty" stare, that smolder that Skeet Ulrich does through?
No, you're more of a Stu in that regard.
Oh no, I am.
You're a very animated person.
I'm a very yes. You are. I resemble that remark. But do you like the franchise?
Yeah. What I've seen of it, I have enjoyed. Right, so I've only seen half of it.
Mm-hmm.
From the recap that you had me watch, it does seem like three was the worst one.
Three is arguably the worst one, and by the simple fact, and I know this is a dumb barometer for this, I couldn't find any good, legitimately good video essays on YouTube about 3. I could find for 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. 3 was like the weird void, and you saw the recap. It's the end of the trilogy. It's Roman is the one lone killer.
Yeah. I actually think they do a wonderful recap in 6.
Yeah, explaining all the interconnected nature of the Scream franchise, and 3's the weakest. It really is. It has its moments, but I don't know. I said I like watching Ghostface get his ass kicked.
My comment on that was that's the one thing I don't like. Like when it ends up being because this movie, this series takes place in a realistic. It still takes place in a movie universe, so there is still some movie logic. But good God, Ghostface can take some massive hits to the head and not have any welts or bruises when he finally takes his mask off. And yeah, just like keep going, and like people, these killers are able to like conjure some Herculean strength to be able to hurl bodies through objects.
The most egregious
and stuff like that.
is Scream 4, when the tiniest of ghost faces is revealed to be Jill, because Emma Roberts is just this tiny little thing. She's not as tiny as Jenna Ortega. If they wanted to make Jenna Ortega, like you'd see Ghostface coming and be like, "Tara, is that you? You're not fooling anybody. Take that off. Come on, you were a toddler. Come on, what's happening here?"
And then you'd get thrown through a building.
They're just all amped up on Mountain Dew, Jim.
Yeah.
Green tea and Mountain Dew.
You drop a piano on any of the ghost faces. It'll knock them down, but they'll get right back up.
So, kind of moving on here. So, our listeners, I'm going to actually get to the demand proper here. So, Jim, our listeners have given us demands from studios literally all over the world.
All over the world?
And you listening now, you can send us any demand you'd like, and if we do it, we will have to meet it right here on the spot. And when we reach the end of the episode, if we've done our job, we will have pitched a full script and story, meeting, and possibly even exceeding those demands. And when the end of the season comes, your demand could have helped craft the script that is greenlit by the fans for our finale. Thank you to everyone who keeps submitting and commenting and liking and sharing, the people engaging with me on Twitter. Thank you. Keep it coming. But as we already know, our demand today is Scream related. This comes from Danny. She helped out here.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys,
name of the studio?
Oh.
You didn't.
You
didn't get a name of the studio?
There's no studio demand. Let's see.
I will name the studio Stab Forever.
Stab Forever.
Stab Forever Films.
Stab Forever Films. Hey guys, with Scream 6 being a resounding success, certified fresh by critics and audiences, it's only natural that the seventh film will be made. The studio demands that you beat out the script for Scream 7. Will you end the franchise? What the hell was that?
That was the gate downstairs.
Oh, okay. Well, all these weird noises today, Jim. Will you end the franchise? Will you set up future installments? Will Ghostface go to space? Hashtag Ghost Space. The studio demands Scream 7. Get writing. All right, Jim. So this is an interesting demand that we're tackling today because we just saw the movie. This is brand new.
Sure.
This is one of the freshest hot take episodes we're doing, and not getting it out ahead of the actual movie. We have the full context of the Scream cinematic world.
Yep.
What are we going to do?
So I have an idea of what I would want to do for the whole story of the seventh one, but I realized in our conversation here, I don't have a meta-narrative. I don't know what commentary
that's all right.
on film it is making.
That's okay.
Other than just to continue beating the horse of franchise.
Well, whatever villain you have might have a problem with that very nature. Now, the villains in 4, is it 4 or 5? 5. Richie and Amber are upset at the direction that the Stab franchise has gone. They want to start it over with some new content. So beating the dead horse that is the franchise. You could return to that. But don't worry about the meta-narrative right now, because we can find that. I think I know where you're going to go.
So you graciously brought up some information for me earlier. I asked the other day if Sidney Prescott had any children this far into the franchise.
And she does. And she is married to McDreamy. Detective Kincaid is her... He was
Sidney
in,
is?
Yep. He was in
I
Scream.
thought the recap said that Gale was.
No. Oh. No. It's
No?
Sidney.
It's
Sidney
Sidney?
is married to Detective Kincaid, played by McDreamy.
Okay.
And he is alive.
Oh, that's good to know because he got stabbed as well, right?
Yeah.
So, and you brought up
Sidney has 3 children.
3 children, the oldest of which was born in 2010?
2013. Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an 8-year-old daughter, unnamed. None of her children have names. So she has a daughter, 2 daughters, and a baby. So she might have three daughters, but she has 3 kids. The oldest was born in 2013. So as of now, 10 years old.
Yeah. So 6 came out this year, so it wouldn't be set now. But that it becomes important because her oldest daughter ends up being important to the plot.
To the plot you want to pitch?
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe you, I was hoping for at least 5 more years, but that seems like a little too long to wait for a Scream 7.
Yeah.
But the idea being at the end of 6, the Carpenters basically retire as you know, young 20-somethings. They retire to Woodsboro, back to Woodsboro.
So Sam and Tara.
Yeah, maybe they end up there for summer or whatever.
Oh, I see.
People don't necessarily stay at college over the summer.
They're in New York, and they're heading back to Woodsboro for one reason or another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe they're drawn there by a Ghostface
By
killing.
a Ghostface, return home.
But the idea, I realize I didn't have this worded in a fun story way, so I'm just going to start throwing details out, and you can see how they fit together.
Either dodge or catch.
Because Sam is having hallucinations of her dad, so she's very much the spirit of Ghostface is definitely haunting her and making her want to kill again. Even though at the end of 6 she discarded the mask and theoretically put it behind her.
But she is prone.
You can't get rid of a Loomis that easy.
Especially her idea of who Billy Loomis is.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like a good voice to her. He's like, he's kind of promoting vigilante justice as opposed to just go out and murder people for reasons.
Kind of. I feel like that's, well, the spirit wants her to kill. I think it would like for her to kill in a terrible Ghostface type ways, but it'll take any kind of killing.
Okay.
And any sort of murder satiates the spirit.
The supernatural vision she's having of her.
So that is, I didn't want to tap into the potential supernatural elements that the Scream franchise has started suggesting.
No,
so when I say suggesting,
okay, go ahead. Minimally suggesting.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say that, whenever you have visions and things like that, I tend to read a little too deeply into those. Like I did the same thing in Batman versus Superman and Justice League for Superman seeing his dad. So I won't go into that again. But in Scream, Sam sees her dad, Billy Loomis, who died at 17, 18 years old. She had no idea. She would have never known or seen him as she sees him, but that is how we saw him. So it suggests she is seeing some sort of spirit.
Okay.
Because why else would he appear as his self when he died with stab wounds in his white tank top?
If you're not rhetorically asking me why she would see it that way, it's because he became famous as that person.
He became famous as that person to the Scream audience, not the stab audience or the people in that world.
No, they recreated. So in the meta-narrative of the Scream universe, the stab movies recreated Scream 1. The first stab movie recreated shot for shot, beat for beat. It's a joke.
So her brain is creating an amalgam
of Luke Wilson.
The movie.
She sees Luke Wilson, and it just turned it into...
And then replaces his face with Billy Loomis's face.
For the record, Luke Wilson plays Billy Loomis in Stab 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so you rhetorically asked why else would she see it other than it's a spirit haunting her.
That's a fair reason. That's where those images would have come from.
Right.
I didn't remember Luke Wilson as him, and I didn't know that I didn't remember the faithful recreation of the end of Scream in Stab.
But anyhow, so she's having visions of her dad. Could continue your point.
And so she's back in Woodsboro. For one reason or another, but it would be revealed eventually, not at the end, somewhere in there. Basically, Stu shows back up because even though he died in 1, you have said the original plan was for him to show up in prison in the original writing of 2.
2
but it was
or
thrown
possibly 3.
Okay.
There's differing accounts of what the plan was, but essentially, Stu would have survived the TV crushing him in 1, and he was going to be the mastermind villain in 2 or 3, to be revealed that he was orchestrating it all as some sort of revenge kick. They chose not to go, Stu took 2 high school or kids and manipulated them into killing a bunch of high schoolers because Columbine happened in 99. So they trashed that idea and did what they did.
Sure.
But because that was an idea initially, and I honestly thought they were going to go that way in 6. I told you as the movie ended, I didn't see who it was, even though it was so obvious in the long run, because it is what it is. I had already put it in my head, like, it's going to be Stu, it's going to be Stu. It isn't impossible that Stu is actually still alive. Like, they've killed characters who've come back, like Hayden Panettiere survived dying in 4. So I would bring Stu back. He's escaped prison. Oh, wow.
And he's back in Woodsboro, and either he is, and actually probably he has orchestrated the Carpenters coming here, and because Sydney and her family wouldn't have come back. He orchestrates them all coming back, and he's basically trying to recreate that first one with Sydney and Billy's kids.
No. I have one better on you. He's not trying to recreate the first one. He is trying to erase all the sequels so that only the first one counts. That's what Halloween did. It legacy sequeled things where it's like, you know what? It's a trend that's been happening. The Terminator movies have done it. There's been a bunch of movies that go, you know what? Only the good ones count. So Stu is going to do the sequel to the first one. That's it. That's his plan. That's his meta narrative.
Where I was going to go was basically he was going to be the emperor to Sam Carpenter's Darth Vader. He was going to basically say, let the Loomis flow through you. right?
Do it.
And he was going to basically try, like I don't know how he would know that she is seeing her father, but I was going to try to doing something like that, like not a I knew you were back, Billy, and I wanted like not necessarily that, but something like that, like he was wanting to like Sam Carpenter is Billy,
Finish what your dad started. Kill Sydney.
Yeah.
Okay.
And or not even necessarily by killing Sydney. Like she's a non-issue now. It's her daughter, and so have Sam Carpenter fight whatever Sydney's oldest
unnamed
daughter.
oldest Prescott daughter.
Yeah.
I guess Kincaid daughter if she went off with her father's name.
Have them sort of be the new like. So you are the new Billy, and she is the new Sydney. Now fight.
So okay, so you're suggesting that.
But I do like your idea that he's trying to hand wave away all of these other
all the sequels,
these other things. Yeah,
none of those other ghost face killers count. Looking
like he keeps referring like he keeps saying the real Stab 2 is this.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, there's something to that. That like if you think about what Halloween successfully did in erasing decades of Halloween movies to just be Halloween 1, and this is the true Halloween 2,
yeah,
and then 3 and 4, whatever the case may be. It's not out of the current state of affairs to kind of do that, to sort of hand wave away the bad ones and keep only the good ones. The thing that you had pointed out, and you are correct in saying so, is that these movies are whodunits.
Yeah, so that's the thing that makes me think that maybe I'm not familiar enough with enough slashers, but I think maybe I am. I think the whodunit is not actually that big a part of the slasher genre. It's the Scream franchise that has made the whodunit a big part of the slasher genre.
And it is a very consistent, important thing in this franchise that you don't know who Ghostface is. You need to suspect everyone. Everyone from Henry Winkler to Sidney's dad to Randy himself. Like even Gail, like you presented that in Scream 2, the way they introduce her, you could believe like, well, maybe Gail is doing this. She is going to be Ghostface.
Trying to get more books out of this, more movie deals.
So if the conclusion is that Stu did this the whole time, and even doing the voice box the whole time, like this is the real Stab 2, like if that's his narrative through the whole thing, we are erasing the franchise. I like keep wanting to pick up my phone like a voice box.
Yeah. Hey man, you use whatever.
I need props.
Props you need.
Audio is only good for me when I have props. But to basically, we have to write ourselves to the reveal, the evil monologue that Stu orchestrated this whole thing.
Which 6, I think, actually did lead that out enough to where they reveal when they reveal. I thought they did a good job.
Oh, to get to
what I'm saying.
The third act monologue, the evil monologue. Yeah, I think it's fine. It was a lot of monologue, but they all are. It always comes down to intense music and circling the bleeding heroine, and like this is why I'm doing it. It's personal. It's personal.
Yeah.
But so our target is
was Kincaid. So that would have been 3 or 3.
Yes.
Or 4.
3.
3. Okay. Was he an FBI agent?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Maybe. I mean, I don't know why an FBI agent would bring his family on an investigation that's turned personal. But what if there's a Ghostface killing in Woodsboro that for whatever reason Kincaid is assigned to with Hayden.
Kirby Kirby as Kirby. Get her back on the force, get her badge back.
Well, because we're out of law enforcement. We don't have
any law enforcement.
Or we don't have any law enforcement. We know if we are going to go back to Woodsboro, I don't know why I feel the need to overpronounce that.
We don't know who the sheriff is.
We're going to need to meet a new sheriff.
Yeah, because Hicks is the sheriff who takes over for Dewey, and she was killed in 5.
Yeah.
So someone took her place.
Yeah.
It's Hopper from Stranger Things.
There you go. Now you're franchise. Now you're crossing
we're talking.
franchises.
Now we're crossing here. So Yeah, I suppose the contrivance we need to figure out is if you think this needs to happen in Woodsboro, you're going to have a real strong reason to get Sydney and the family there. You kind of have an idea, like getting the Carpenters there. Okay, they're going to be and Randy's niece and nephew, so Mindy and Chad, getting them there. They're going to be like, okay, we're going home. We need to expect that this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. There's an expectation just going there. So like,
sure,
why would you go there? I'm not saying we can't get them there, but to get them there, aside from kidnapping them and forcing them there, like, Sydney's smart enough to stay away from 6 for contract reasons. She was smart. The character of Sydney Prescott was smart enough to stay out of New York. She was like, sure. Ghostface, I'm out. I'm done. But
well, what? Okay, what if it is kidnapping?
Do you kill Sydney Prescott in the opening of Scream 7?
Woof.
Like that's our Drew Barrymore cold open kill?
And here's why no. I will ask first, how many of the Scream movies, because again I've only seen half of them, do known characters die in the opening?
Drew Barrymore doesn't count.
1, no. Yeah. 2, no.
2, no. 3, yes. Cotton is killed in the opening.
Oh, Cotton is okay.
Yeah.
4,
4, 5, 6. No. Okay, so it's just those. It's just that Cotton got it in the beginning of 3. Mm-hmm. Like he's our celebrity kill at the beginning. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's a good idea to kill her in the opening, but boy, would you shock the hell out of the audience if you did it. Like to take out.
Sure.
But if Stu as our if Ghostface, we'll say if Ghostface's goal is to create the final showdown that this franchise deserved after the first one, you can't kill her in the beginning. It has to be Sydney versus Ghostface one last time. But that undermines the reboot nature of this series by making Sam our new main character and Tara being her sister and.
Let's give how do you feel about Sydney's oldest daughter being a character being brought in?
I don't mind it, but we have to do a time jump to make that work because she's 10.
Sure.
And in order to do that, we could.
Well, it's not going to come out this year, so she's going to be at least 11.
That's a tough ask because of the age discrepancy.
Okay.
But then at the same time, if we did a 5-year time jump, and then it's like it has been 5 years since any Ghostface killings have happened, like it's truly been put to rest. The franchise has fizzled out. People don't even see it anymore. Like Stab is like it's just sort of passé and it's done done with, and like we can finally return to Woodsboro. Oh, it's back. It's this is a tough contrivance to ask for.
Okay. Then we don't have to do that. What if Kincaid is killed?
Okay, that's our cold open. So then it's revenge for Sydney to be like, all right, I'm going on the offensive immediately here, which she's done before. So
the thing is, I don't think it would just be that. I actually So I think to lure her back, Stu kills her husband and takes her daughter.
Say Ghostface because Stu's going to have to probably work with someone.
You're a Ghostface. Takes kills her husband and takes her daughter and makes it look like leaves whatever clues are necessary to make it look like it's Sam Carpenter.
Okay, so then it's Sydney versus doesn't believe Sam, thinks Sam is snapped or whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we want to lean into the at this point cliche, Sam has a new boyfriend, who is the
other Ghostface.
Or no, it'd be what's his face. Do we want? I don't know if I want to transform him into a Ghostface.
Chad.
Was that his name?
Yeah, the twins. So Chad Meeks.
No. The hot neighbor.
Hot neighbor.
Yeah.
I forgot to write his. I forgot to write his name down.
There was
hot neighbor.
Cute neighbor. Hot neighbor was what they kept calling him.
I have a suggestion here. We should maybe figure out another Ghostface, but I want to try something here as a way to make Sam a legitimate suspect for Sydney. I'm going to throw this out here, and you tell me what you think of it. This has been coming to me as we've been chatting here, to try to work her into the plot. To make her Dexter, that she is legitimately, like, with almost the blessing of Kincaid and Kirby, using her as a hammer, as a weapon, that they find other serial killers, or that she has made it her job now to, like, the ghosts my dad wants me to kill, I'm going to vigilante justice and kill people who kill. I'm going to go after wannabe ghost faces. I'm going to go after other slashers.
Maybe what I'm wanting is leaning too much into what Six suggested. I don't want to go that far. I think that's going too far, and that's giving a pseudo redemption that hasn't been earned.
Well, the reason I'm even suggesting
redemption, but
the reason I'm even suggesting it is the idea of Ghostface is the face of this franchise, and pseudo Ghostface gets the kill, like that, like. Mm-hmm. Sam embraces that she has Ghostface in her, and thus Ghostface is the hero at the end of Scream 6. And
sure.
So I'm suggesting possibly let's just let her embrace it. She's freaking the Punisher.
Well,
she throws on the costume and she takes out murderers. And thus we know she has a bloodlust in her, and then Sidney could be like, I know Kincaid told me you've been murdering people up and down the country.
Yeah, I don't think it's fun to have that be the development that happened between movies.
Okay.
And that's sort of what I was trying to go for. Like, I like what you're saying about Stu trying to erase the other movies, mm-hmm. but I like the idea of him trying to foster, like, clearly Bailey saw it in Sam. Saw the killer mm-hmm. in Sam, which is the reason he wanted to frame her. Have Stu see the same thing, but instead of trying to frame her to get some sort of twisted justice, he's trying to foster it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi in it.
Kind of, yeah. So he's trying to, like, okay, so we're going to get Sidney to think you're doing this thing. We're going to get you back to Woodsboro, maybe through kidnapping. I don't like that as much, but maybe that as well. And because it's Woodsboro, and maybe it's on an anniversary or something, because it wouldn't be a coincidence.
Right.
And because it's this town, there's all kinds of people, all kinds of fans congregating and dressing up like their favorite Stab characters.
Oh gosh.
And stuff like that. So Stu in the background is setting up all of these opportunities for Sam to basically be confronted by faux ghost faces, mm-hmm. or even real ghost faces and faux. She doesn't know. That's what Six suggested, right? Like, oh, they're dressing up. I don't know who's actually it and who's not.
Sure.
But, like, there's these weirdos who, like, I remember in Scream 2, I think it was 2. No, it was 1. Right after the murder, kids are running through the hall.
Yeah, it's
all I could think as the one ran by is, I would have decked him. I would have been in the right to just trip. Just have this dude take a face plant and, like, oh, how was I supposed to know he was just goofing around?
I will punch everyone in that mask.
Yes.
You come near me in that mask, you will get punched.
Sure, and I actually feel like the franchise has justified our protagonists doing that. And Sam, who is to the point of stabbing and shooting people to get it done, would basically be at that edge, and Stu is trying to push her over it
to truly make her the villain of this story.
Yeah, and it would be happening. Whereas in 6, it only happens like we see Billy Loomis early, but then it kind of goes away as Sam's trying to survive and rescue her sister and stuff like that. Then it comes up at the end when she has to confront the ghost faces.
Yeah, she puts the costume on.
Yeah, and in this one, I'm saying that happens much earlier, and it like. She's continually confronted with this temptation.
Sam is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that too I don't know. Maybe that's just putting too much on.
Maybe. Let's take our break here. I just want to formulate some thoughts, because I have a new notion building off of this. It's going to change this, and it's going to help. We're going to have to figure out our other ghost face, because we can't. I don't think. Let's just take a break here. We'll come back here.
I might also have a couple other ideas.
Okay.
Now that I think about it, other ways to go.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. Let's get some messages in here from 6.5 Media, and we'll be right back with some more Scary Movie.
Daniel and Chris here from the Turn by Turn podcast. We're excited to announce that our season 2 is going to be starting up. Something special about this season is that we're going to be talking with indie RPG game developers about their games, and they've been nice enough to give us screenshots and videos that we've attached to the YouTube. So while you're listening, you can also check out that and see what the games look like, as well as hearing the creators talk about their games. We have a lot of really interesting stuff in store, and Chris is on this ad too. Anything else to add?
It's very, very exciting to be talking to lots of game developers, learning about how to make a game, how to release a game, and we still make sure to cover lots and lots of your favorites, so make sure you tune in.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
All right, maybe we should write something down.
I think it sounded fairly organic.
Yeah, it did.
And we're back into the actual episode proper, unless you wanted a longer break.
No, that's fine.
Okay. So I have a notion I want to suggest, like talking about this fostering Sam's, like, inner demon. Like, just do it. Just live up to what you already have in you. You've already done it. There's evidence of it. I want to make a suggestion here of introducing Stu immediately into the story.
Okay.
And having him be almost a Hannibal Lecter type character. He's locked up. He's behind the glass. And
sorry, I'm imagining Matthew Lillard doing Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of love it.
So having and even referencing it immediately, like she walks in and he meets her across the glass, and the first thing he says is,
"Hello,
Clarice."
Yeah.
Yes, I'm suggesting that we introduce Stu right away, that he's maybe requested to see her or she wanted to talk to him, and he is mentoring her through the glass. He is Hannibal Lectering this. Ghostface is happening. I know what's happening here. No one knows this better than me. Like, and then the decision, if this is the case, like we introduced him, and it's like, okay, could it then also then be him that orchestrated this whole thing anyway? Which was the original plan for Stu.
So it's not that he escaped; it's that he's literally Hannibal Lecter good, and he's doing this from behind bars.
I'm possibly suggesting that no, he still is the bad guy at the end of this thing. That he is the evil. He is making it seem like he's cracked. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm evil, but I'm helpful, like Hannibal Lecter. But then ultimately, when the mask comes off, like the second Ghostface mask comes off, it's like, it was me. I actually got out. I have a hole in my toilet. I don't know. I don't know how to make this work, but I'm throwing it out there as a story idea.
So as far as that goes, I would rather if introducing him early, right? You do your cold open with Ghostface killing someone.
Yep.
And then rather than Sydney or Sam wanting to see him, it's Kirby.
Gotcha. Great.
Kirby's the one who goes to see him. And what do you think about actually bringing him to Woodsboro?
Oh, you're asking for trouble.
Absolutely asking for trouble.
Perhaps
he's still under lock and key, so the whole thinking is, our FBI agents will be able to handle him, but we need him on the scene, like in all of those other pretentious serial killer movies where they bring a serial killer in.
Like The Blacklist.
Yeah.
If he would have been in jail now for 20 years. 30 years. He's been in prison for 30 years. This is
1996.
If he has been helping the FBI ever since as a consultant,
sure,
he's sort of like in their good graces. He's good behavior. He's still an insane man.
So as far as happening before the movie, okay, I like that idea that he's been helpful for the last
30 years. Maybe the last 20 years. 10 years of anger, and then
he's sort of a goat, especially because what kind of gets revealed is, sure, yes, all of these movies deal with this legacy of Loomis and Prescott stuff, but Ghostface and Stab and all this stuff has it clearly as of the third movie, it was affecting a lot more than people who were directly related to it.
Yeah.
There's something about this particular persona, Ghostface. There have been Ghostface killings
around
for the last
country.
30 years that
Yeah.
the FBI needs to investigate, and they've been using Stu as not an informant, but
a ghost face whisperer, if you will.
I will.
So making him a very obvious, like, okay, come on, you're bringing Stu back in this? He's obviously a villain. He's the bad guy. You've brought him to Woodsboro? Like, could his entire intent be to get to Sam? He wants to talk to his best friend's daughter. So that he can frickin' Obi-Wan Kenobi her.
Sure.
Can then that be twisted to surprise he's the villain all along?
I don't know if it can. Where I instinctively want to go with it is, okay. So they bring him along, Hannibal Lecter style, right on the dolly with the mask. Doesn't have to be that much, but probably. He's under lock and key by.
He asks that we do this
by a couple nameless FBI agents, with Kirby as the lead.
And his commentary that his running commentary could be, don't lose your thought, his running commentary could be commenting on how often they figure out ways that Michael Myers survived. They figure out ways to bring Jason Voorhees back. They figure out ways to bring Freddy Krueger back. Like he's like, yeah, it's me, I'm back. This is like in this. This is like in this. Like
sure.
you can
so
never count us out.
It's not until he's actually, like, once he actually gets out, he's like, and I saved the best for last. Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
Equating himself to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. Where I was going to go is whatever Ghostface. So by trying to build a world where Ghostface is ubiquitous, and bringing it all back to Woodsboro.
You can buy that mask at any five and dime on
any five and dime.
Any five and dime.
Across the state. Bring it all back to Woodsboro. Our couple Ghostface killers actually free Stu, and in the freeing Stu, that's where he has his little monologue. I don't know if making him a mastermind to that level where he was like, I've been in secret.
I've been the puppet master this whole time.
But
we've done Puppet Master was in Scream 3, and that's a dumb contrivance to be like, I tricked Billy into becoming the Ghostface killer.
Yeah, that's too much. I don't think he would be allowed pen pals.
No. I mean, Charles Manson was allowed pen pals. He got married.
That's true.
Ew.
I guess it depends on the kind of prison that he's in. I don't know enough about prisons. It's either a normal prison that TV has shown me, or it's a Hannibal Lecter prison that TV has shown me.
And there's, I would have to look it up, but there's a chance that he wasn't 18. He could have been tried as an adult because technically he was a high school student.
Oh, sure.
So he could have been 17.
That's true.
That would change the circumstances of his incarceration.
That's also true. But my thought is, the Ghost Faces free him, and he's all like, "Oh, this is awesome! Now we can do all sorts of stuff." And Sam shows up because Sam is our protagonist at this point, and confronts the three of them, and that's where Stu starts doing his Emperor thing. Like she's there, and either she's in a ghost face herself, or she just has the knife, or he can even say, "I see it in your eyes," something like that, and he actually encourages her to kill these two doofuses. Like, what? We just freed you, dude.
Yeah, okay, I like where you're going here.
And she's very and then the reflection of her dad is all like, yeah, totally do it.
Listen to my buddy.
And she's very much motivated by what's happening in the story to do it because they're the villains. They've been killing everyone in this movie. So maybe she does, and so by the end of this, she's that much closer to being it. And maybe the whole Dexter serial killer for the FBI feels. I feel like that changes the franchise too much.
Yeah, I think so too. As I said it, I was realizing it we shouldn't make a hero out of Ghostface, but Sam is our hero, and she is much more actively willing to kill and defend than like Sydney and Gale. Like they've shot and killed nearly every Ghostface prior to this, so they're not averse to it, but they don't seek it out. It's just the solution that it comes to in the end. Whereas Sam wants to. She says it to her therapist. She's like, I kind of liked it. Yeah. And I think that's because what I have in me, this genetic nature. While coming to that conclusion, or at least as a second to third act twist of like Stu getting out and be like, kill him. Do it. Who? And you were saying it like it's two Ghostface that busts Stu out.
It always has to be two.
Right, it always has to be two. But it could just be one. But the question is, who is the copycat? Who is that? Is that the mystery that's revealed? Okay, so I go to 4 when Jill, Sydney's cousin, is revealed to be Ghostface. They do the final house confrontation, and then they have an additional climax when they get to the hospital. So, like, the movie seemingly is ending where the first one ends, and then it's like, oh, surprise, they're both going to the hospital. Sydney survived. Jill attacks, then she dies there. Having this Scream 7 get to the point of Stu escaping and encouraging, or being released, and then basically encouraging Sam to kill the Ghostfaces. The Ghostfaces are killed, and then, okay, now we can do the proper sequel, and now I am the villain. Like, have the whole mystery of who the Ghostface is up to Stu's release, and then giving us another fourth act or fifth act, whatever. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like,
sort of. That sure.
If it's like, oh, Stu's the bad guy, oh, he's not the bad guy. Oh no, I'm the bad guy. Yeah, mouth stuff.
Yeah.
But that aside, we still don't have who is our Ghostface. We have our core 4 characters. So Tara, Sam.
We've worked so hard to get Stu back into this franchise.
Yes. Chad and Mindy. Gale is still alive. Sydney is still alive. It's Mindy. Okay. Gale is still alive, and Sydney is still alive. Mm-hmm. Do you want Gale and Sydney involved in this? You have a kidnapped child.
The idea was to get Sydney in. Her husband is killed and her daughter is taken.
Okay.
That is what would and then clues left to come seek out Sam Carpenter. Where is Sam Carpenter? Woodsboro. Sydney would go back there to get her kid, no matter what. Whereas if it was like, not to downplay a dead spouse, but if her husband was killed, I don't think that'd be like, I have to go back for revenge. I think she would just, like, it would be terrible, but she doesn't want to be lured into what is very clearly
a trap.
Yeah, whereas if her daughter could still possibly be alive, she would do that.
I have a suggestion for who Ghostface could be before the Stu situation unplays, and maybe this is too much, but I'm going to throw it out there.
I have a couple contrivances.
Gale. She's finally snapped. Like, she's been shot, stabbed. She's lost Dewey. She lost her boyfriend / husband in 6. Like, she's finally had enough, and she's snapped, and she's manipulating this whole system. That.
Not saying we need a precedent for it. Is there a precedent for characters from the previous movies
switching sides?
Yeah.
No. The most we have is Sam embracing her. Yeah, fine. If I'm Ghostface, I'm gonna kill you. I'm just putting it out there on the table as an option for who our Ghostface could be, that puts all this in motion, that plays Sydney like a fiddle, that gets, like, Sydney and Sam don't even want to be near each other. Like, Gale is this staple of the franchise. It takes it back to episode 1.
Sure.
But the problem...
feels...
I don't like it. I don't like it. It's still...
If Gale... I think if Gale didn't turn out to... Like, I think she's the quintessential sleazeball reporter. She'll be bad in that regard. Like, I said I was your friend, and then I totally made a buck off of it.
Wrote several books about you.
Yeah, that I think is her MO.
I wanted to put it out there because it was an option, but as just in this couple minutes of talking about it, I don't like it. I appreciate Sydney and Gale's consistency in their character, how they've built over the years. As much as they took Laurie Strode from over 20 plus years to get her to be the angry badass bitch she is in the Halloween new, Sydney and Gale have evolved that way more naturally
Sure.
than I think Laurie Strode did.
Yeah.
Like, you can see what these two women have gone through and why they would be how they are. I think it's in 4, as soon as Ghostface is like, even, okay, it's happening again. Sydney's like, lockbox, gun out, bullet loaded. Okay. Like, she's like, I'm done screwing around. Like,
Yeah.
even in the second one, it opens with her getting a crank call, like, hello, Sydney. And she looks at her caller ID.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Gale's not the right option here. But if specifically Sam, Tara, Mindy, Chad, Gale, and Sydney have to be in this, if we're going to play this whole Stu angle,
we need to invent new characters.
Sure.
I don't know how I guess we have to meet them and they're using pseudonyms. What if it's a relative of Stu's?
Well, we've already had relatives of Stu's.
Oh, did we?
Let me go to. I
thought
made a chart.
Oh, fun.
Because I wanted to be sure.
I knew we had relatives of Billy.
Yeah.
And of Richie.
Stu Macher, Maurice, Kirby, Mercer, Meeks, Macher, Vince Macher from 4. He is the. Let's see. Vince Macher is. In 4, who is he? He's the he's the boyfriend of Jill that they were going to use to.
Oh, the Culkin.
No, that's Trevor.
Oh,
he's the one that Vince Macher, Scream. I tried to have all this information like super readily available. No, that's fine. Stu Macher. I spelled his name wrong. Blah.
Oh, well, that'll do it.
And that'll do it. Vince is not a Macher, he's a Schneider, but he is. I'm looking at the internet right now.
Yeah, I'm doing a good job vamping. I'm watching you look at the internet.
His uncle, so he was, he's Vince Schneider from Scream 5. That's right, because everyone in 5 was related to someone who had come previously. Yeah. He's the dude that takes it to the face for being like he's walking to his car, and it's just and
he was Stu's uncle,
nephew.
Nephew.
Yeah.
He was Stu's nephew.
Yeah.
Oh, he looked.
Stu
He looked a bit old to be his. Whatever.
Stu has a mother who lost her poor kid in.
Any siblings?
Oh,
sorry. None that are rich.
Stu has a sister. Stu has a sister.
Obviously,
yes.
if he had a nephew.
Yeah. Leslie is Stu's sister.
Leslie is Stu's sister, and we never met her, right?
Nope, I don't believe so.
And she had a kid who died. It doesn't. I don't know if it makes sense for her to become.
She is alive and in her late 50s.
Okay. Would she? So my thinking there is she becomes a ghost face with the goal of freeing her brother to end all this.
That's
Ghostface is what killed my kid.
Yeah.
You are going to stop all of this.
Okay, this tracks. This makes sense.
So
why
I'm
going to
go
free
kill
him
a couple people to
draw
I'm
everyone
to take
here.
on the name. That's the only thing I think doesn't feel quite right.
Okay, so then let's keep her on the table as an option. Keep her on the board because it's not out of the realm. That works in trying to free him. To manipulate everybody here, the kidnapping of a kid, that's a big move. That's a big, bold move. Someone has to have some element of knowledge and power to pull that off.
Sure.
And to manipulate everything back to Woodsboro again, and in such a fashion that because there's got to be a certain amount of power here to pull this off, to find Sydney.
Then maybe that's not the angle to go. Maybe that's too contrived.
Using the machinations of Stu and blah 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 blah.
Maybe it's not Woodsboro then. Maybe it is wherever Sydney is.
I think that's the better way to go.
Okay, and then the fun way of doing it, where Nightmare on Elm Street, when they finally went somewhere else, like a street sign popped out and the green sign popped up and it turned it into an Elm Street. What if Ghostface kills someone in whatever town it is, and whatever, like we go to the welcome to so and so town and they paint in blood over it, Woodsboro.
Well, there you go. I like this. That's very dramatic. That's very Ghostface. To you can't run from your past, Sydney. It will always come to haunt you.
Yeah.
And then so converging everyone on her.
And then I don't know how we then get the Carpenters to go there, but like, why are you here? Like Sydney would say that
because
to
Sam has a vested interest to track down ghost faces like that. I know that's kind of going to my thing about like making her a vigilante or whatnot, but instead of her like she's not being a tool of the FBI, but she does have a little bit of the one thing we lose here in getting Sam is not bringing Tara. In fact, maybe Jenna Ortega is too big to be in this franchise anymore. And leave Tara out of it.
You are leaving money on the table.
She might ask for too much. They didn't bring Sydney back for 6.
Budget's not a concern for this Scream 7.
I don't want Tara involved in this.
Really?
I'm leaving her out of it.
I think that's a bad move.
No, we'll fight about it.
Okay.
Shing, 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 shing. Knife fight.
Yep.
But getting if Ghostface shows up, like goes after Sydney, does that work with drawing the FBI and Stu is involved? Like, our ghost.
I think that would definitely draw the FBI.
And the one
I don't know how or why Stu would be brought,
because he knows serial killers. He knows specifically Ghostface. He's been helping them for 30 years.
Would Kirby or Kincaid bring the relate? No matter how good of behavior he's had over the last 30 years, would they bring him as a consultant to the site? I know. We just got done with you asking me that same question, and I just kind of hand waved it away. And maybe you can do the same to my questioning.
It could be it's an option, and they have to like, listen, Sydney, we can bring someone in, someone who understands this better than anyone. But
you're not going to like it.
You're not going to like who it is. So they could say that, and then cut to Sam rolling into town. And so the audiences go, oh, is Sam the expert they're talking about? No, she's just been, like...
I'd like to find another reason why Sam is in this town.
But, yeah, my thought is that you're right. It's like the chief could force them to. Like, no, we don't screw around when it comes to copycat Ghostface killers. You have your guy, bring him with you. I'm telling you, it's your obligation. It's the orders. To follow your orders. Bring him.
The chief is like, I don't care what you think of this bad idea. You do the bad idea.
Maybe.
I'm contrivance chief.
Listen,
Chief contrivance.
Chief contrivance. We can't. You're such a pain in my ass. You're a thorn in my side, Kirby.
Knife in your side, boss.
Knife in your side. Get out of my office. Here's a possible. Okay, maybe I don't want to add another thing to the plate here, or to the vision board of trying to craft this film, is the cult of Ghostface. We've had.
I also feel like that's a thing the franchise hasn't figured out how to crack yet, but I think that's happening. I think that in the world of Scream, I think cult of Ghostface is a thing that's happening. Just no one has truly organized it yet.
You know who could do it?
Stu could do it.
Stu's sister could then craft a cult. I'm picturing now just a stream of ghost faces just swarming our heroes as they're like bang, 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 bang.
Like Matrix Revolution.
Yeah,
They're the Agent Smiths.
Maybe not so much of that, but like yeah. That's what I'm suggesting. And then they like jump on each other's shoulders and form a giant ghost face. And
that's when Billy Loomis's spirit possesses Sam and then grows into a giant Billy Loomis.
Yeah, she becomes kaiju size.
Yeah.
And it's a giant Billy Loomis
versus
kaiju versus a ghost face kaiju. Okay,
that's what the fans want.
That's what everyone's asking for,
it's
Jim. You go to space or you do this.
Yep.
Okay. If we take it to Sydney, if these ghost faces show up, let's do it. Let's play with an army of ghost faces.
Would it be? Honestly. So if we're gonna do that, if we're gonna go to her, and we're not gonna really mess with the family in any way, technically, that's a character we could kind of go either way with. If Nev Campbell wants too much money, we can say that's fine. We'll plug in Sam Carpenter's character.
Being
and if,
targeted.
If Jenna Ortega wants too much money, we can say that's fine. We'll go with Sydney. Like depending on who wants more money, we can go with the cheaper option and still only do one side. Initially, my hope was to bring both sides in.
I still think we can. And I'm realizing now, if we decide to go like a cult route, that there's an orchestrated effort of literal faceless. They're not anyone. Like,
sure.
There's still needs to be a whodunit nature of like who orchestrated this whole thing. But I had referenced Stu would get love letters in, just like Charles Manson did,
sure.
who was responsible for a cult. Like but they would.
Sure.
It's not like he orchestrated it, but if his sister did orchestrate this cult.
Yeah. If all of these they get attacked by a ghost face and they kill them and they take the mask off. Like, who even is this?
Yeah.
And
yes.
They realize we're being inundated with faceless quote unquote fans, and even if they're able to connect them back to
something,
an internet site called StabJam.
Yeah, StabJam.
It ultimately is the two quote unquote ghost faces of this movie. Their masks were never wearing masks and never actually doing the stabbing. It is Stu's sister and Stu.
So she orchestrated the cult to get him out
and got all of this going to get Stu out. Yeah.
And so this is the Sam plot. And so going to the Sam side of things, to get Sam to to get Stu to Sam and Emperor Palpatine her of like, embrace, kill these guys, kill these MFers, like like feeding that fire in her to then ultimately be the thing that needs to be destroyed as well. Like even if like the visions of Billy slowly deteriorate away where it's just Stu in her ear, and then that basically is her closure as a character, is if she kills Stu, she kills the voice that's been telling her to pursue her bloodlust. Is there something to that?
Well, maybe like so if it's because if Stu's, I like the idea that Stu's sister's motivation. Why would she stoke the flame if her goal is like, I think her goal should be to end all of this. I like the idea that I don't know why I like the idea. She wants it to stop because that's what killed her kid.
Yeah.
And in her own in her mind, it's been twisted to think that if I get my brother free, he will
end this.
He'll know how to end all this. So why would she stoke an internet? Unless, she didn't necessarily. She didn't start StabChan. She joined it to steer it in this direction, to get them to focus on Stu and stuff like that. So that way, when Stu is out, he would be considered the leader. And then, so now that they're free, like she shows up, she's like, "Good, now Stu, you end this." And he's like, "Whatever you want, big sis."
I've always been a tool of the system.
And
a tool to Billy, a tool to the FBI, and a tool to you.
And he says, and he does his Palpatine to Sam, like, these are the guys. These are the ones who did it. You know what you got to do.
Kill Ghostface.
It's in your blood. It's who you are. And she slowly puts the mask on and kills the two of them. And then Stu and Stu's sister are like, "Great, let's leave." And because they think they're safe, they think Ghostface Sam is on their side.
Right.
And as they're leaving, she picks up the voice changer and says, "Not so fast, Stu." I don't know what clever movie thing to put there, but something like that. And then, so our final scene is now Stu and Stu's sister basically running around this building or house that they initially set with traps and stuff like that. Maybe they either way, this house, now it becomes Sam hunting the two of them like Ghostface does.
Okay. That I'm digging this. I think this there's something here. The other layer to fold in here though is Sydney. If
she also puts the mask on and becomes a ghost.
Well, she's already done that once before. If could her running through the same establishment to try to find her daughter, like save her daughter, be happening simultaneous to hunting down Stu and his sister, so that once Sydney saves her kid, it's at around the same time that Sam has finished off Stu and the sister, and now she turns and looks at Sydney, and Sydney's like, Sam, take the mask off. You've done it. It's over. Please. You're not your dad. You're not Stu. Take the mask off. And then Sam, like, realizing and then taking the mask off, and it's the two of them. So, like, it's giving Sydney a less active role in defeating, unless she's, like, knocking down other ghost faces running through this, like, this land or this wherever the farm is or the wherever she ends up being.
I figured it'd be a house.
Okay. A big house like all these movies always have,
Yeah.
But as far as Sydney's journey through this, is that at least getting her to a place?
I don't know. I don't know how to get all three factors, Sam, Stu, and Sydney, all into the same plot.
If the idea is to kidnap Sydney's, like, to end it,
well, the initial idea was to do that because she's not old enough to be the protagonist final girl yet.
Sure.
That was what was going to motivate to bring Sydney back in.
Mm-hmm.
But if that isn't, either that becomes the central thing, so now it's Sydney versus Stu. I don't know how to get Sam in there, and if it's instead Sam versus Stu, I don't know how to get Sydney in there.
Okay, let's say Stu, take out the ghost faces. Okay, with the sister created a cult, use them, kidnap the kid, get Sydney. Because
unless they also kidnap Tara.
No, let's I'm keeping Tara out of this. Let's just focus on the getting everyone to.
I feel like you're doing it just as a challenge at this point, not because you
Hold on.
actually.
I have nothing against Jenna Ortega. Kidnap the kid, so Sydney is panicking. The FBI comes in because the ghost face has returned. Sam comes there because she has a vested interest in helping Sydney.
Oh, the internet still thinks Sam
is Ghostface.
Was the one who pulling the strings and was the actual killer.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't this same Ghostface group that has found Sydney, painted Woodsboro on the sign, and done all this, why wouldn't they also? Well, that's again why I was going to suggest Tara.
Mm-hmm.
Them grabbing her. They would also try to lure Sam here, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So I mean,
either she's lured there or she chooses to go there. She enters into the town that is being attacked by Ghostface. Okay.
Yeah.
Stu's entered into the.
Yeah. Keep going. I'm just
Stu's
making
entered
sounds.
into the equation. We build up to friends getting killed. We don't know if Mindy or Chad are going to survive this time. We can't have every one of these ending with them getting put in the back of an ambulance. I pointed out how many times that happens.
Yeah.
Like every one of these movies ends with that same shot of like, I'm okay. Oh God, we haven't even considered where Gale fits in this whole equation, but let's not worry about that right now. Getting to that Stu in Sam's ear saying like, those are the ghost faces, kill them, put an end to like this, and then okay, it's done, let's escape. Sister and me, let's escape. And then Sam saying like, no, this isn't over yet. She's a ghost face too. And she's like, Stu, help me. She's going to kill me. She's not wrong. And then Stu just steps aside as Sam fights the sister. I'm trying to push it into the finale where if Sam gets her ass kicked so bad, then Sydney and Stu is the final, like basically the last Halloween after everything is all said and done. Then Laurie and Michael Myers fought in Halloween Ends.
Well, I actually think that's pretty easy. If Sam is fighting Stu and Stu's sister, or just Stu's sister, she ultimately wins the fight against Stu's sister, but can't overcome Stu. And Stu himself is strong enough. He stabs her enough, and then is like, but don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. You're Billy's little girl. I couldn't do that to her. I couldn't do that.
Stu!
I love you too much. You're
Stu!
like family. And then
Sydney shows up.
Yeah.
And
they have
their final showdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
In which she drops 3 TVs on his head.
Okay, so where does Gale fit into this scenario?
I don't know. And then there's a reporter.
I mean, we could not have her, but then Courtney Cox is like very much always has loved this franchise. She like pursued the role of Gale Weathers. Like they didn't want her to do it.
Oh.
Because she was Monica Bing.
Sure.
She was Monica.
Yeah.
And they didn't want her to do it. And she like, no, I want to play a bitch. I can do it. Trust me. Let me do it. Let me do it. She like vied for this role. And so she's always been a very active participant in it.
Mm-hmm.
Having her be the opening kill is always an option. Like, I'm not trying to kill the main characters, but just thinking franchise at large, the characters that we have remaining, if we're going to use them, how do we utilize them? Because Kirby is here as well. Like, if she's our FBI agent, and like you said, Kincaid's the one who dies in the beginning when Sydney's daughter is kidnapped, then Kirby being like the main FBI agent who brings in Stu.
It'd probably be too contrived. What if Stu's sister? Does she have a name? We continually
keep calling her
that?
Stu's sister.
What if her husband is an FBI agent, and he's in on it? Or am I violating the rule of two?
No, I mean there was 3 in the last one, so.
Well, there were, but they never put more than 2 in the costume at once. Do we know for sure that the dad ever got in the costume, or was it always the kids? Leslie, okay.
I don't. I'm assuming at some point he was in the costume based on how many kills happen in that movie. So
same.
Leslie is Stu's sister. Leslie.
Okay, so what if Leslie's husband, the father of the killed nephew, is also in on it? So he's, and what if he's an FBI agent, and that's kind of how he knows where Sydney is, is able to.
Would they let
too much?
a relative of Stu be involved with Stu at all?
That's true.
Like, I think Kirby works because she's only associated through the Ghostface murders that have happened over the decades.
What else did I want to say? Basically, that's a character that could be brought in.
Not Leslie's husband, whoever this uncle character is, Stu's brother-in-law. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm say poo to that.
Okay.
And if he is a character, we can use him as a red herring. Like, oh, maybe he's involved somehow, and then he's one of the deaths we get.
Okay.
Is to see another Woodsboro person be. Well, they weren't from Woodsboro. Stu was from Woodsboro, but his sister.
Well, his sister would be from.
Moved
whatever.
away at some point. Yeah.
Actually, didn't 5 take place in Woodsboro?
Yes.
So they were from Woodsboro.
Oh yeah, you're right. Adoy. There's a lot to remember here, Jim. Gail's involvement as a reporter, again, being a participant in, I don't know, because if there's a meta nature of like, let's erase everything that's come before, and we just, like, that once the cult has been killed, once Ghostface is dead, once Leslie is dead, Stu's like, now we have everything in place for the true sequel. We can forget everything that came before this. Now this is what it's all been always meant to lead up to. Like, if that's Stu's like switch in his head once his sister's dead and the cult's been taken care of and it's just him left standing, he's like, this is how it was always meant to be. Then we can get to that meta narrative of the retcon sequel, as opposed to it being a running thing through the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Sort of.
Do you think that should be a running thing? That through the whole of this is always the anthem of we need to erase everything that came between A and B?
I feel it motivation. It doesn't need to be said.
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's saying that, like, what if? I mean, Gail's honestly not hard to incorporate. She's a character who would be seeking these things out.
Right, much like I was suggesting, Sam would be seeking it out. But I think you're right. If we kidnap Tara, that brings her into the equation as well. And honestly, I'm coming around to that. I don't mind it if we're just going to use Tara as the victim once again. That she's the damsel a third time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, this franchise has some fun with that sort of stuff. I mean, how many times we've seen Dewey go in the back of an ambulance?
What if the thought? The going with that notion, I like, for whatever reason, I kind of like that pseudo climax, or maybe even Act 2 climax of Stu saying, "Now the real sequel can begin."
Oh, I'd put that way near the end of the movie. Whatever, you like it.
What I like is I'm imagining somehow the pieces have been moved around, either by his machinations or others, that it's landed that way. And so, like, at one point, actually earlier, or maybe even right before he says it, Sam gets stabbed or hurt in some way that Stu at least thinks she's dead. So, like, literally, he feels he has disposed of everyone except Sydney,
It's just me
Gail,
and you, Sydney.
Sydney and Gail.
Yeah.
Because Gail, you were there too. You can document this whole thing, right? Kind of thing. So he would want to keep those two.
Yeah.
Because they're from the original.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yeah,
like, and or like maybe the whole idea is, and now I can kill you two, and that'll be then we'll worry about the third one.
You're never going to get away with this. You don't understand. I don't want to get away with it. We're all dying tonight. This is ending here with the three of us as it began. Like that.
Scream ends tonight.
So
Something like that.
So
or
in Scream,
stab? I don't know.
In Scream 2, Mickey wants to do, and Billy's mom, they arrange all this. Mickey's goal is to be caught. Because he wants to be put on trial, become a celebrity, blame violent movies. So it's not like there isn't a callback in such a fashion. But the fact that Stu this is a unique quality of our final Ghostface villain / thing is like, I don't want to survive. I'm not sure, because all the Ghostface up to this their motives have always ended with them getting out of it alive. And this is our final boss of Stu, and it comes down to Gail and Sydney. Sam's on the ground bleeding out, and Stu's like,
the reason. So she would need to go down for Stu to feel like the stage is finally properly set.
Yes.
But I was also thinking that she wouldn't actually be that hurt, and she would get up and become Ghostface
and take Stu out one final time to save Gail and Sydney. But yeah, the what I'm saying is the motivation of like, no, I don't want to survive this. I'm dying tonight. We're all dying tonight. This is over. This needs to end, and it needs to end with the true second part of this story that it was always meant to be.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I like that. And then Sam gets to kill Stu.
Well, I like the idea of her using the voice box and all that to
it's a callback.
Not so fast, Stu.
Sydney's done that too. Sydney used the voice box in the first one. I mean, if all three of them just want to beat the holy hell out of them, like the end of Death Proof, that's cool too.
Because did Stu ever get asked what's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah.
Did he? Okay. Well, then never mind.
I believe in the first one. I could be wrong, but yeah, just that's the callback line. What's your favorite scary movie?
Sure.
I'm just imagining them beating the shit out of him like in Death Proof, and he's like, "This is like Death Proof." And then they kill Stu. And that's the end of that. And then the end. Sydney is like, I'm truly, honestly leaving this franchise behind me for the love of God. And Gail's like, I'm going to write another book. And Sam's like...
And then we just leave it open for an 8. We didn't actually resolve anything?
Well, it was a question of whether or not we wanted to resolve this franchise or not. But I ultimately we're not ending the franchise.
Sure.
I don't think there's any reason to, as long as it's still good. There needs to be one true dud in this franchise for it to truly...
That's 3. We don't have to make the dud.
That was decades ago, Jim.
We don't need to make I don't want to make the
I don't want to make the dud either. So that's what I'm saying. There's no reason to end the franchise here, but by taking...
I guess what I'm wondering is, what did we change at the end? I don't want to just return to status quo. Maybe that depends on who dies and stuff like that. Right? Because Sydney's walked away multiple times now. She's like, I want nothing to do with this.
I have a spoilery question here, and
sure.
I'll ask it and then jump ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to know the answer. Does Laurie die at the end of Halloween Ends?
No.
Okay, all right. That was... I thought she did.
No.
Okay. All right, welcome back. That was the 30-second jumps you need. Jumping in.
She survives.
Oh, yeah.
Finished it. No, I don't care.
You're being vague.
We spoil everything. You gave a spoiler alert for Scream, but, well, yeah. Anyway, like it does this weird thing where she finishes her book. She finally writes. Because throughout it, she was having sort of a trouble finishing her memoir kind of thing. And then after she kills Michael Myers, for real.
Mm-hmm.
The next day happens. She finishes writing, and it turns out she kept the mask.
Oh, okay.
And it's like in her box with her manuscript or whatever.
Yeah.
So she leaves to go. I don't remember. Have a picnic with her
Is it
granddaughter or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And
it was really a yes or no
camera
question.
Doesn't really. It was, but I don't care. I'm explaining
Okay,
the ending
keep going.
because it is an ending, but they somehow still suggest
There could
the
be more.
spirit of the shape is still out there.
Sorry, I didn't
somehow.
mean. I'm sorry to like.
Yeah.
But okay.
It was. I remember my reaction. I posted on Facebook. I was like, I liked this, and in thinking about it more and more afterwards, I think I didn't really. Of the 3 new ones, I
Yeah.
liked Halloween 2019.
Well, that review aside, and
Yeah.
I'm not being a dick. I'm
Yeah, no,
thank you for answering the question because you did kind of help me decide. Okay, I want to make a suggestion here about how to end this. So you're right. Sydney has walked away from this multiple times, and she's gotten pulled back in at least 4.
Mm-hmm.
So Stu's down, the building's burning, they've all survived. It's Gail, Sydney, and Sam. Tara's been saved, the little girl's been saved, and there's gonna have to be some sort of meta conversation about, okay, we did it, it's over, it's truly over, and it's like, no, it's never gonna be over. I got 3 children. Legacy is legacy. Like, this will keep going. So the only thing that I can do is prepare them and us to keep doing this forever. And so, like, even if I'm not saying like it's a Fast and the Furious family picnic at the end, but basically
Sure.
an agreement of, we know this won't end until we're dead, and it'll probably keep going after we're dead. So we might as well prepare ourselves to do this forever.
Okay.
So let's train this little girl and her
like,
sister
like
and her
wording,
brother.
wording it in some way to say like this won't end until everyone forgets about Ghostface.
Yeah.
Themselves. In world alluding to Stab Jan.
Yep.
And all the fanatics.
And suggesting
But
that
saying to the audience with the meta.
Yeah.
Look, these things go as long as you watch them.
Yeah, as long as you keep coming, we'll keep coming.
Yeah.
And even going to so far as saying, like, this little girl, her sister and brother, I am going to raise them to kick ass. And Sam, you continue to kick ass. And maybe I could get my Screammate being the vigilante Sam or what have you. But basically ending it with, like, this is never going to end. As long as you've worded it perfectly.
Yeah.
I don't need to reiterate it.
Yeah.
Because then, yeah, the door is open for these characters to keep coming back in one way or another, because Ghostface will always come back. But at least we're taking a very active role in developing this little girl. She's going to be Hit Girl, essentially. Like,
Sure.
These kids are going to be so capable of defending themselves that they will be threatened, but they will never feel threatened.
Okay.
And that's how we walk away from this movie.
I think so. I don't know if who all. So clearly, our 5 final girls survive: Sydney, Gail, Sam, Tara, and daughter.
Right. That's deciding if we want to kill Chad, Mindy, or Kirby as well.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I kind of like Kirby being the new Dewey.
I like
and just
Kirby,
getting
yeah.
stabbed and
I
not
didn't
dying.
I didn't think I wanted it until it started happening in 5 or 6. I was like, I kind of am digging Hayden Panettiere playing the law enforcement role. And what really threw me for a loop is I had forgotten 4. I could have sworn
That she was the
I misappropriated her.
Yeah.
I forgot that Emma Roberts was the villain and Kirby was the best friend character.
I liked the attempt in 6 by Detective Bailey to throw the audience off by saying the report back
disavowed.
says she was disavowed, and she wasn't actually disavowed.
You're right. I like that too.
So I like that, and then she sort of becomes our insight into the greater Ghostface phenomena. And at the end of it, right, like obviously it would be however we work out the details. Sydney's planning on raising her daughters as powerful final girls.
Yeah.
I like the notion that everyone's sort of like wary about Sam. Like Sam keeps coming out on top of this killer instinct
By embracing it, yeah.
Yeah,
but
that's riding the razor's edge so much that it's like that's worrisome. So and maybe there could be something about suggesting at the end I don't know if it would be a stinger or what it would be, but something like Kirby saying, "Hey Sam, why why don't we have a meeting or something like that?"
I'm same page. Page. That basically they team those two up as partners.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you on
something like that. Not necessarily you're going to be my enforcer. You're my serial killer on a leash.
But something
but
to
more,
that. Yeah.
More like almost even equating like, well, Stu's dead and he had the most insight into this, and you might not want to, but you have a predilection for knowing this stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to bring you in as a consultant.
Yes. Same page. I love that. I think that's fun.
I think I like Chad and Mindy. Killing one of them feels like the easy points, and I'll take them.
Mm-hmm. But it's sad.
But which do you kill? I hate to say, Mindy is more of the actual voice of Randy.
Yeah.
And I feel like there could be a poignant moment if Stu is the one killing her, and he's all like, I knew I was well, not besties, but I knew your uncle. He was a great guy.
Kill.
And like the whole time, rather than like in 6, I felt bad that Mindy was like, I should have seen this coming. Why didn't I like have this be like as Mindy dies, she's like, I knew it was you.
I was right this time.
Yeah, something like that.
Monologue at me, please.
And although.
It's sad to kill, because funny enough, like these characters are charming.
Yeah.
It's
and also because Chad was such a red herring kill.
Mm-hmm.
I thought in 6 to do it again now, I don't know why that feels that doesn't feel like the right move. What do you feel about killing Sam's boyfriend?
Handsome dude. Yeah, I don't even imagine him being in this. He'd stay in New York.
Oh, really?
They left him behind.
Well, okay.
I mean, sure. Kill him. He's disposable as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
I like that actor a bit. He was in
so do I.
She-Hulk and Arrow, and I like him. But we can off him. I don't mind that.
Okay.
And of course we'd have to introduce new characters that are our potential.
Mm-hmm.
I do think having Leslie's husband be a red herring, like Principal Himby in the first Scream, just being like, is he? Oh, he's dead. No, well, it wasn't him.
Well, especially like it would be I think it'd be very interesting if like the way it happens. Stu's brought in. That's already egregious enough. Mm-hmm. Like this is Sydney's essentially witness protection town. Yeah. And Stu is brought in, and then his brother-in-law shows up, and sure, his brother-in-law is like, he shouldn't be out from like I think that would be the red herring. He's like, what? But he legitimately is super angry that Stu's
means
been let
everything
out.
He's saying. You leave her alone.
Yeah,
Sydney, I know we haven't met, but I really care about you. Yeah, we're
like,
connected somehow.
No, get creepy like that. Yeah. I've been following the story the whole time, and my brother-in-law is the worst. I understand. No,
stay away from me.
Yeah,
there's
something like that.
There's a really great scene in 5 where it's Sam and Richie, who is her boyfriend, who ends up being Ghostface, meets Dewey, and Dewey's like, "Who's this guy?" "It's my boyfriend." "How long have you known him?" Well, a few months. Where did you guys meet?" Why are you interrogating me? Because it's always the boyfriend.
Yeah.
What's your? Tell me more about. Like he just goes right after Richie, and he's right.
Yeah.
But that sort of like idea of like you're the suspect. I'm not going to treat you any less than that. Mm-hmm. I trust no one. Are you kidding me? You know how many times I've been stabbed, shot, punched, knocked downstairs, thrown out windows? Having that hyper vigilance is.
I like the idea, thinking about how that opening would then set the tone for the movie with this town being inundated, just being labeled a Woodsboro, mm-hmm. and suddenly all of these Ghostface tourists start showing up. I like the idea also of these fans not just dressing up as Ghostface. They also show up dressed as other characters
Freddy
from
Krueger.
the franchise. No,
as
monsters.
As other
characters. Like we've seen that a couple times in
yeah.
previous Scream movies, but like showing up dressed up as Gale in the
Yeah.
yellow
Oh, in
outfit.
the yellow jumpsuit.
And like things like that. People start showing up dressed as characters
Dewey.
from the franchise.
I'm Stab 4 Dewey, actually.
Yeah,
that's why I have the
stuff
limp.
like that.
That's why I have the limp, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I like your Stab 2 Dewey outfit.
And the town hates it.
Oh, yeah.
The town feels betrayed on top of that when they find out who Sydney is.
Yeah.
Like, wait, you're Sydney Prescott from all that? You brought this all on us?
Boo.
And so now the town, she's surrounded by people who were her neighbors that feel betrayed and are now hostile to her.
Yep.
And she's surrounded by these tourists, any of which could be the killer. And one of the actual killers has been brought in to quote unquote investigate what's happening.
This is nothing but red flags here, folks.
Yeah.
Red bloody flags. I have a question. Let's step back for a moment and be the audience sitting down to watch this. And I know obviously people can comment towards us and let us know if we've done this or well, but what have you? I'm blah blah. Returning the franchise to Sydney after one movie without her, after the torch has been passed to Sam, I don't mind. I think it was fine to not see her in the last one.
It's not. I very much like and would like to honor torch passes.
Okay.
I didn't see 5, so I was unaware that it was an actual passing of the torch.
There's no. It's not a.
There's no. It's your problem now.
Yeah. There's not. It's not exactly that, and it was planned for Sydney to be in 6, but creative differences didn't allow that to happen, so they wrote it a certain way. So they didn't do a proper Creed 3 fist bump.
Sure.
Creed 2 fist bump. Creed 2 fist bump. So this could be that, or it could be like, hey, you know.
Well, by your ending of saying I'm going to train these girls to
I'm not
to
going
be tough,
anywhere.
but yeah,
I'm Ethan Hunt of this franchise, bitches.
Yeah, that ingrains Sydney even more. That makes it harder to pass the torch
and
to anyone other than Sydney's family.
Let's try be the audience for a second. Do you accept that Sydney's not going anywhere? Laurie Strode is Halloween. Sarah Connor is Terminator. Ellen Ripley is Alien. In a lot of regards, there are the main characters that become so synonymous with the franchise it feels weird when they aren't there. We can look at other franchises like Star Wars and what have you, Star Trek even.
Well, I think it always depends on the fan and what the fan likes. And I understand making a Halloween without Laurie Strode, but just Michael Myers. I think that, well, my opinion of franchises also is, I think they need to get away from them because then I don't know. It's about them when a lot of the times the villain can be explored more. Like, I love Alien. Ripley is awesome, but I want to see the Alien franchise explored in more ways, not necessarily the ways that it has been chosen to do, but I would love to see that world get expanded upon.
See our Alien Frontier episode plug.
Yeah. And that goes with a lot of the others, like Terminator. Terminator's a world that's bigger than Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
But it keeps coming back to Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
And I understand why they do a good job writing how and why, but yeah.
I think it's on brand. Not on brand. It is well within our rights to do a torch passing, which has already occurred. We saw it through 5 and 6 that Sam is our main protagonist now. That's fine, but it even could be commented on within the stew and the meta narrative from Mindy, however involved they are, of just like, some people don't like it when franchises hand it off to a new person.
Oh, sure.
Like there's commentary to be made in that. Winter Soldier,
sure.
And Sam Wilson carrying on Captain America without Chris Evans. Some people aren't fans of that.
Yeah.
But you can't keep a franchise going with elderly people. Although I have 4 Indiana Jones posters on the wall that would suggest otherwise.
Yeah.
But you get what I meant, right? That there's a commentary to be made there in that. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's
actually,
wrap up here.
I kind of like that commentary, like Stu even saying something like, if something along the lines of I have to be the one to kill you, or you're out of the or your importance to this story means nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, then the flip, the throwing it back in his face is like, do you want to do a Halloween Ends, or do you want to do a Marvel? Like which you can't have them both. You either the characters have to stick around or they have to go away. Like, like there's a muddled ask in that. So, all right. Well, let's wrap up here. So, you want to think for a moment while I start ending the episode?
So as far as the characters who come back, we only killed one. We only killed Mindy.
I mean, if we choose,
and the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Or I guess one. We killed one of the twins. It doesn't have to be Mindy. Because she was always the one with the more of the movie knowledge. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's more appropriate.
Perhaps when Tara is kidnapped, that's unfortunately when Craig or Chad would go, since they are a couple by the end.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they were building that relationship.
Yeah. I take no joy in killing these characters, but we have to keep the audience on their toes. And if you kill someone important, one of the main characters, because something we walked away with in 6 is while we enjoyed the movie, none of the main characters died.
Yeah,
and that was an interesting thing.
It was an interesting note.
Yeah. Not a negative criticism, just an observation. So, but I think we're going to end the episode here. I'd love to know if we. Yeah, let's throw it to the listeners. What do you think? What do you think of this direction for Scream 7? How do you feel about the franchise? Like, what did we miss here? Because this franchise has grown so much beyond Sidney and Gale and Dewey. We have 6, 7 characters now to play with. But
that like we do, but it's weird to me. Like, I know you're trying to wrap it up, but I keep going. To me, it feels like it does just keep kind of circling around.
It does. There's so many familial connections and bloodline connections.
Like what we were just talking about. I like separating certain villains from their protagonist to be able to tell other stories, but certain villains are kind of so intrinsically tied. I don't know if you could truly separate Ghostface from this legacy. Like
Ghostface goes after someone completely disconnected from any previous thing.
Can
you do that?
Do you have any interest?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't think so. I think continuing to have these reoccurring characters, throwing them in these situations again. And it's typical of the genre.
Yeah.
You want to have your Tommy Jarvises. You want to have your Nancys from Friday the 13th, or Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. But let's throw it to the listeners. So hit us up. Do you agree with what we did here? What did we miss? We know we missed something. Oh, yeah. And we may have gone the wrong way here. But you let us know. You can message us directly at StudioDemandsIt.com, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at StudioDemandsIt. If you're not already, you can subscribe to the podcast. We'd love for you to do that, and you can even give us a little review in-app, which helps us get out there into the algorithm. You can also find us on YouTube and TikTok, where we are posting videos of content. We have the most recent video up right now, at least as of recording, is a Bedknobs and Broomsticks highlight reel from the commentary from that movie, which...
What a weird plug for this, to go from a children to talk about a horror slasher.
Now go watch Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Witches.
For 2 hours.
There's a connection somewhere. You can find me at TC's Big Head on Twitter. If you need to get to Jim, you can go that way as well. We do, as mentioned, have a Patreon for a couple extra bucks a month. You can get extended episodes, sometimes twice as long as the episode here, as well as movie commentary tracks that you can sync up with some of your the movies we watch, or sync it up with a movie we aren't watching. See how that plays out. You took a breath. What's up?
So you mentioned your Twitter. Did you mention the podcast's Twitter?
Oh yeah, it's one of the first things I say. You zone out.
I do. I keep thinking about what we were doing. Like, what am I missing?
You can find us on Twitter at Studio Demands It.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Actually, as mentioned earlier, the engagement that we have on there is a lot of fun. It's also a cesspool of fan opinions, which we are a part of.
Yes.
And I'm...
Well, that's Twitter in general.
That's just Twitter in general. But that does it for this episode. We will be back again soon for one of your demands and to challenge ourselves to improve the world of cinema. I am TC.
I'm Jim.
And he is the final girl here.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
I am Final Girl.
You are final.
I am Final Girl.
Final Jim.
Yeah.